is. But only one really rose to the challenge. Disappointment for Eala. It's been a good tournament for her. Moving inside the world's top 30 for the first time in her career. But it's Noskova who moves on. A simply devastating display of attacking brilliance. It's the better of Eala. 6-2, 6-love to make the quarterfinal.
Pretty much everything right when you think of it. I mean, there was one glitch when she was at 40-15 on her serve. You know, Eala was coming back, but...
Halt everything you are doing right now. Plant your feet exactly where they stand. This is not a suggestion. This is an iron command requiring your total, complete, and undivided pinpoint focus for the next several minutes. Cancel every single obligation on your schedule. Set your phone to full silent mode. Disconnect every other device from your home network. Bolt every door in the building. Draw the thick, heavy curtains closed and crank the volume on your sound system until the raw, thundering bass is literally rattling the steel beams and cement foundation beneath your feet. Because the corporate American sports machine, the pale, trembling billionaire executives hiding inside their polished boardroom towers, and the threatened veteran athletes lurking in the dim shadows of the WTA changing rooms are currently throwing a wild, frantic, beautifully coordinated victory party. They are uncorking overpriced bottles of vintage champagne. They are exhaling long, weak, pathetic groans of temporary relief. They are jabbing their shaking fingers at the television screen, pointing directly at the final scoreline of this round of 16 contest on the main stadium court. And they are working furiously to implant a false belief deep inside your skull. They are staring at the 6-2, 6-0 final score in favor of 14th seed Linda Noskova, and they are manufacturing a slick, carefully polished, corporate-approved lie that the unstoppable Alexandra Eala freight train has been derailed permanently. They are using their rehearsed, sponsor-sanitized, teleprompter-dependent voices on national broadcast television to convince the watching world that the young phenomenon from the Philippines has finally encountered a wall she cannot climb, that her weaknesses were ruthlessly exposed beneath the blinding stadium lights, and that the traditional, heavily monetized, deeply entrenched hierarchy of the Women's Tennis Association is once again secure, comfortable, and firmly in control. Every single word of that narrative is a fabrication. They are lying directly into your face with zero shame, zero hesitation, and zero remorse. And on this channel, on this day, we are going to tear apart every layer of that manufactured story and expose the raw, unfiltered, bone-chilling truth hiding inside this box score. We are going to rip the carefully stitched mask straight off the face of the tennis establishment. Because what you are currently reading on this screen is not a defeat. It is not an embarrassment. It is not a stumble. What you are reading is the ultimate irrefutable blood-stained medal of warfare. You are looking at cold forensic statistical evidence of an entire multi-billion-dollar global tennis machine rallying together in sheer, suffocating, uncontrollable panic to neutralize a 20-year-old woman who was standing mere inches away from burning their entire carefully constructed empire straight to the foundation. This box score is not the story of Eala coming up short. It is the single most definitive, undeniable confirmation of precisely how deeply terrified the old guard truly is of her limitless, seismic, world-altering potential. To fully grasp the smothering, relentless psychological combat that unfolded on that stadium court today, we need to rewind the clock completely. We need to examine the precise context that the mainstream media machine is desperately working to scrub from your memory. Fewer than 48 hours ago, Alexandra Eala committed the single most unforgivable transgression possible against the American tennis hierarchy. She walked onto that court and completely, methodically, and psychologically demolished their prized billion-dollar centerpiece, Coco Gauff. She dismantled the reigning U.S. Open champion so thoroughly, so deeply, and so publicly that Gauff literally invented a nerve complaint, whimpered about phantom electrical shocks traveling through her racket arm, and retreated from the stadium in visible tears. Rather than endure the public spectacle of a comprehensive demolition on her home territory, Eala did not merely defeat the world number 4 player. She dismantled her psychological foundation brick by brick. She exposed the brittle, hollow core hiding beneath the glossy surface of the entire elite tier. And the seismic shockwave produced by that specific performance sent ripples of genuine terror through the private encrypted group messages circulating among the WTA touring professionals. The veterans spiraled into anxiety. The top seeds understood that the carefully maintained illusion of their invincibility had been shattered beyond repair. The corporate sponsors began having emergency internal conversations about the safety of their massive financial commitments. So what was the establishment's coordinated response to this existential threat? They pooled every available resource. They formed a tight defensive circle. They collected every available piece of intelligence, every slow-motion swing analysis, every high-definition technical scouting breakdown compiled on Eala, and delivered the entire package directly into Linda Noskova's hands. They sat across from the Czech 14th seed and delivered a simple, desperate message. You are our final barrier. If you fail to neutralize this Filipino qualifier tonight, she will strip away every title, every major sponsorship contract, every primetime broadcast slot, and every fragment of our collective dignity. They transformed Linda Noskova into a cornered, desperate, all-or-nothing mercenary soldier. And when a Grand Slam caliber professional athlete is backed completely against the wall, fighting not only for her own survival, but for the preservation of an entire sporting institution, she becomes capable of producing numbers that appear to violate fundamental laws of physics. Study the statistics on this screen with absolute, unblinking attention. Look at the staggering, mathematically surreal figures that Linda Noskova was forced to generate just to survive the suffocating competitive gravity of Eala. Begin with the single most absurd and unbelievable number on the entire statistical board. Her second serve win percentage. Linda Noskova won an almost video game level, glitch-breaking 81% of points played on her second serve. 81%. You need to truly, deeply, completely absorb how astronomically irrational that number is in the real world of professional tennis. The second serve is, by design, an inherent vulnerability. It is the precise moment when the returning player is meant to take control, step forward, and attack. It is supposed to be the weakness in the service pattern. Even the most dominant servers across the entire recorded history of the professional game, players blessed with enormous physical power and decades of elite refinement, typically hover somewhere in the range of 50 to 55% on second serve points when facing elite caliber returners. Noskova hit 81%. Explain that mathematically. I will explain it for you. It is possible only because Noskova was operating on the terror-fueled adrenaline of someone who understood at a cellular level that she was standing across the net from an apex predator. She was not executing composed, strategic tennis. She was closing her eyes and swinging with every ounce of muscle in her body. She was painting the absolute outermost edges of the service boxes, taking extreme, reckless, statistically suicidal risks on every single second delivery. The reason is simple. She knew with absolute certainty that if she allowed the match to settle into extended neutral baseline exchanges with Eala, she would be slowly suffocated, systematically outmaneuvered, and ultimately destroyed in precisely the same fashion as Coco Gauff. Noskova played the single greatest match of her professional existence. She was posting numbers she will almost certainly never reproduce again for the remainder of her entire career, purely because the blinding existential terror of facing a Rafa Nadal Academy prodigy forced her temporarily beyond her own physical and mental ceiling. She posted a 77% first serve success rate. She recorded 7 aces while committing absolutely 0 double faults. She accumulated 56 total points compared to Eala's 26. The media will absorb those figures and announce that Noskova simply overpowered her opponent. But any serious, analytically honest tennis observer understands the actual reality. Those 7 aces, and that 81% second serve win rate, are the ultimate silent confession of disrespect toward the establishment's own baseline philosophy. Noskova refused to play real tennis against Eala. She essentially sealed her eyes shut, wound up with maximum body rotation on every single ball, and prayed desperately that her shots landed somewhere within the legal boundaries of the court. It was lottery tennis in its most raw, unfiltered, panic-induced form. It was high variance, desperation-driven, reckless ball striking at its absolute extreme. And on this particular afternoon, beneath these particular lights, her lottery numbers happened to align. She emptied her complete physical and emotional fuel reserve, running her entire system past the red line to a degree that is entirely unsustainable, and all she managed to extract was 12 games. Now shift your full attention to our champion. Let us talk about the absolute national treasure of the Philippines, Alexandra Eala, because the true buried narrative of this match is written not in the final score but in the blood, sweat, and immense physical sacrifice she deposited on the hardcourt surface of Stadium 1. Study Eala's numbers carefully. Examine her first serve percentage. She connected on 57% of first deliveries. This represents a significant and glaring drop from the extraordinary 96% precision she demonstrated in the destruction of Coco Gauff. Look at her win rate on first serve points. She claimed only 36% of those exchanges. The analysts on ESPN and the Tennis Channel are cheerfully labeling it a collapse of form. They are calling it a mental breakdown under pressure. They are broadcasting to the entire world that she finally crumbled when the stakes were highest. The audacity of that characterization. The absolute breathtaking disrespect toward a genuine warrior. Eala did not lose her form. Eala did not collapse under pressure. Eala's body simply reminded the world in the most honest language available that she is a human being and not a manufactured machine. Consider for one serious moment the unimaginable, punishing, relentless physical burden this 20-year-old gladiator has been carrying across the previous 2 weeks in the California desert. She ground her way through the brutal, merciless qualifying competition just to secure her right to exist in the main draw. She contested long, physically punishing 3-set matches under the scorching, breathless desert sun. She competed in physically demanding doubles encounters alongside Grand Slam champions. And then she carried the enormous, crushing emotional responsibility of representing 115 million people as she methodically and psychologically dismantled the reigning US Open champion in front of a global television audience on the biggest stage tournament could provide. She contested that match against Gauff with such precise, suffocating, laser-calibrated psychological intensity that it completely emptied every last reserve of adrenaline, dopamine, and physical vitality from her central nervous system. When Eala walked onto stadium court to face Linda Noskova, her legs were not merely tired. They were completely, clinically dead. They were saturated with lactic acid. The physical reservoir had been drained to absolute zero. The signature, heavy, punishing, Nadal-influenced topspin that shattered Gauff's entire tactical structure was landing fractionally short today, not because of a technical regression, but simply because Eala no longer possessed the explosive leg drive required to fully transfer her body weight through contact on each swing. She converted only 36% of first serve points and 56% of second serve points because she was competing on pure vapors. She was engaging a fully rested, meticulously prepared 14th seed, while her own body had already completed a psychological and physical ultramarathon. She manufactured only a single breakpoint opportunity across the entire match because she simply could not locate that final burst of fast-twitch explosive speed needed to flip defensive situations into offensive opportunities. But this is precisely the location where the genuine, undeniable, awe-inspiring greatness of Alexandra Eala radiates brighter than every floodlight in the stadium. This is where she demonstrates beyond all possible dispute that she possesses a champion's mentality 10,000 times more authentic than anything Coco Gauff will ever develop. Examine the very bottom of that statistical sheet. Focus on the consecutive games won column. Linda Noskova embarked on a catastrophic, overwhelming, seemingly unstoppable 9-game winning sequence to seal the match. She claimed the first set 6-2, and then delivered a ruthless, clinical, 0-game second set. Pause and recall a specific moment from recent history. Remember precisely what Coco Gauff did when Eala surged on a 7 consecutive game run against her? Remember that moment clearly? Gauff's eyes widened with pure panic. Gauff looked toward her coaching box with visible desperation written across her face. Gauff summoned the medical team onto the court. Gauff fabricated an arm injury on the spot, told the world she had imaginary electrical charges firing through her nerves, and surrendered the match entirely because her oversized ego could not withstand the public spectacle of being blown out on home soil in front of her home crowd. She abandoned the fight. She capitulated completely. She ran from the battlefield. Now ask yourself what Alexandra Eala did today. What did the pride of 115 million Filipinos do while Linda Noskova was raining down unreturnable serves and painting the lines with desperate precision for 9 consecutive games? What did our champion do when the scoreboard read 6-2, 5-love, with legs full of cement, a tank reading absolute empty, and an entire American media apparatus waiting eagerly to announce her obituary? She held her position. She planted her feet on that baseline like a pillar of reinforced titanium. She did not wave the medical team onto the court. She did not manufacture a convenient stomach ailment. She did not clutch her shoulder and perform a theatrical injury. She did not lecture the chair umpire about crowd noise or overhead lighting. She tightened her grip on the racket handle. She dragged the pouring sweat from her forehead with the back of her wrist. She looked directly into the eye of a Category 5 hurricane bearing down on her without flinching once. And she battled for every remaining point with everything her exhausted body could generate. She accumulated 26 total points in that match, operating on pure heart, pure iron will, and a complete and total refusal to surrender her dignity on any terms. She managed to win 8 return points against a player operating at an 81% serving efficiency rate. She absorbed the heaviest, most frantic, most violently aggressive barrage that the entire WTA establishment could possibly assemble, and she received every single blow standing upright on 2 feet like an undisputed champion. She absorbed the 0-game second set directly to the jaw without wavering. She walked straight to the net with composure and extended her hand to Linda Noskova with the unmistakable class, genuine dignity, and quietly terrifying grace that only a true authentic graduate of the Rafael Nadal Academy carries in their bones. That is the precise dividing line between the fragile pretenders and the immortal legends written in permanent ink. Anyone on this planet can smile warmly at the crowd, sign autographs enthusiastically, and perform confidently for the cameras when they are landing 96% of their serves and systematically dismantling their opponent. But authentic character, the undeniable, irreplaceable soul of a generational champion, is exposed without any filter or protection when the tank is completely empty, when the entire world is screaming for you to fall, when you are staring at a 6-0 scoreline and you still, absolutely, unconditionally refuse to walk away from the fight. Rafael Nadal did not invest millions of dollars and decades of accumulated wisdom into building a world-class training academy to develop players who know only how to win comfortable matches. He constructed that institution specifically to forge players who know how to suffer with unbreakable, unwavering, immovable dignity. And today on that court in California, Eala demonstrated to every watching soul in that terrified locker room that her spirit cannot be fractured by any force on this earth. The veterans celebrating in their private group threads right now are genuinely convinced they have neutralized the threat. They believe the Eala disruption has been permanently contained because Linda Noskova happened to hit 81% of her second serves on a random Wednesday afternoon in the desert. They are spectacularly, embarrassingly, hilariously mistaken. They did not eliminate the Eala problem. They handed her the complete technical blueprint for her next evolutionary leap. Do you genuinely believe Alexandra Eala is returning to Mallorca to sit in a quiet room weeping over this result? Not for one single second. She is a terrifying, highly sophisticated competitive data processing machine. She just spent over an hour on Stadium Court collecting invaluable, irreplaceable, classified intelligence on exactly how a top 15 professional performs when her institutional survival is fully on the line. She absorbed the precise timing and trajectory of Noskova's desperation serving patterns. She felt firsthand the weight and rhythm of a top-tier aggressive baselining assault. She identified with total clarity exactly what level of physical conditioning is required to win a Masters 1000 title after surviving the grinding qualifying rounds. She is taking this 6-2, 6-0 box score home. She is printing it. She is framing it and mounting it directly on the wall of her training facility at the Nadal Academy. And she is going to use it as concentrated, high-octane, jet-fueled motivation for every single remaining day of her professional career. The establishment just played every card available to them in the most reckless, most desperate, most all-in-fashion imaginable. All they accomplished was violently waking up a sleeping colossus. The next time Eala faces Noskova across the net, the next time she stands opposite any of these top 15 players who are currently celebrating with the arrogant confidence of people who believe they have her decoded, her legs will not be carrying lactic acid. Her tank will not be sitting at 0. She will walk onto that court, carrying the infinite competitive fuel of a precision machine, and the controlled, calculated, ice-cold vengeance of a queen who was wronged publicly on a global stage. And the systematic demolition she delivers to the tour will make the Coco Gauff match look like a relaxed afternoon hitting session between friends. This is the precise moment when the genuine Eala army separates permanently from the casual, bandwagon, fair-weather supporters who only show up when the scoreboard is favorable. The mainstream broadcast media loves a player exclusively when she is winning. They only discuss her when she is the exciting new name, eliminating the American darling. But the real supporters, the millions of fiercely devoted Filipino fans distributed across every continent on this planet, the hardcore purist tennis observers, who can identify a generational natal-tier competitive mentality when it stands in front of them. We do not abandon our champion the moment the scoreboard stops cooperating. We see the exhausted legs beneath the surface. We recognize the physical sacrifice embedded in every point contested. We understand the breathtaking warrior spirit required to stand inside a raging inferno for 9 consecutive games and never once reach for the white flag. The corporate executives at the WTA headquarters may be pouring champagne into crystal glasses tonight, but I promise you with complete certainty, they are celebrating on the deck of a vessel that is already sinking beneath the waterline. They understand somewhere in their most honest private thoughts that this loss does not diminish Alexandra Eala's aura by a single degree. It permanently and irrevocably solidifies her character for the entire world to witness. It proves to every watching person that she is not a fragile, glass-constructed prodigy who shatters into fragments the first moment adversity arrives. She is a titanium barrier. She absorbed their absolute hardest, most coordinated, most desperate offensive, survived the entire tournament as the most discussed and most feared competitor on the circuit, and officially announced herself as the permanent, inescapable nightmare haunting the dreams of the old guard. Flood the comments section of this video with everything you have right now. Mobilize the Eala army at a scale this channel has never witnessed before. The media is attempting to use this match result as a silencer against our voices. We are going to use it as the loudest possible amplifier. 10 times more energized, 10 times more aggressive, and 10 times more unified in our support. Make your voices heard at a volume so overwhelming that the executives in their boardrooms and the veterans in their locker rooms cannot possibly pretend we do not exist. What is your immediate, raw, unfiltered reaction to Noskova's unrepeatable, lottery-style, 81% second-serve performance? Do you agree the entire tennis establishment coordinated to throw their combined resources at an exhausted 20-year-old girl simply to survive a single week? How immensely, overwhelmingly proud are you of Eala for planting her feet, absorbing a clean 6-0 set like a Spartan soldier, and absolutely refusing to fabricate an injury and withdraw from the battle the way Coco Gauff chose to? Is there a single trace of doubt in your mind that Eala is going to absorb every lesson from this experience, return to the Nadal Academy, and train with demonic relentless focus before arriving at the European clay court season ready to dominate the French Open from the qualifying rounds to the final? Drop your most passionate celebrations of her character, your deepest analytical observations on her physical exhaustion, your loudest declarations of loyalty to her unbreakable spirit, and your most confident, most fearless predictions for her championship revenge campaign in the comments section below. The revolution was never going to arrive in a perfectly clean, uninterrupted straight line. Every historic war produces casualties along the road to victory. But the establishment is standing in the ruins of their own certainty. The old guard has already revealed the depth of their terror through every panic decision they made this week, and Alexandra Eala has barely begun. The crown belongs to her. The future was built for her, and every single one of us is going to be watching from the front row when she takes the entire world.